The wonderful world of Pokemon is a vast and diverse one, filled with a variety of different creatures coming in all shapes and sizes. From the lush greenery of the forest to the depths of the ocean, Pokemon can be found in every corner of the globe. With the number of Pokemon growing with every single generation that passes, that begs the question, how many Pokemon are there? Well, that's an easy answer. Just search it up on Google. While 1025 Pokemon is technically correct, the true number is far greater than ever imagined, as we have to count in forms, variations, and everything else in between that needs to be taken into account when considering the total amount. Before I give you the total amount, I have to ask if you'd please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video every single week on Saturday. Okay, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Generation 2 introduced something known as shiny Pokemon. Shinies are basically the same as regular Pokemon, just slightly altered in terms of their color palette. Each shiny Pokemon is unique and different, setting it apart from the original color counterpart. While shiny Pokemon are an amazing difference from their regular form, others don't look so much, as they look the same as the original. So shiny Pokemon takes our previous total of 1025 and doubles it because every Pokemon has a shiny. So that comes out to a total of 2050. Some Pokemon have the ability to change forms depending on the circumstances it's in. For example, these include the likes of the requirement of a held item to change form, the requirement of an ability, the location of where you catch it in, or for whatever sort of gimmicky way Game Freak can come up with. This can be anywhere from the alphabet to the appliances that the Pokemon's in. These account for a total of 641 total form Pokemon, and another 641 Pokemon because they each have a distinct shiny. And that brings us to a new total of 3,332. Some Pokemon have the unique ability to Mega Evolve. This was given to 48 total Pokemon spanning across 2 separate games, and that brings the total to 3,380 Pokemon, with an additional 48 Pokemon because each Mega Evolution has a distinct shiny, and that brings us to our new total of 3,428 Pokemon. In the Galar region, every Pokemon has the unique ability to Dynamax. Dynamax basically means a Pokemon grows really big, but technically they're considered a different Pokemon. So we have to take the total amount of Pokemon in the Galar region and the DLCs, which is 501, and add it to a total, which gives us a total of 3,928 Pokemon, plus another 501 because, well, the distinct shinies. So that equals to 4,430 Pokemon. However, some of those Pokemon, in addition to Dynamax, can Gigantamax. Gigantamax basically means Dynamax, but they also switch forms as well. Only 32 Pokemon were given this unique ability, and that brings us to a total of 4,462 Pokemon. And of course, with an additional 32 of them being shiny, which gives us 4,949 total Pokemon. In Pokemon Legends Arceus, 92 Pokemon have the unique ability to become Alpha. Alpha Pokemon is like the previously mentioned Dynamax Pokemon, but just without the HP buff. So that, combined with their distinct shinies, brings us to a total of 4,678 distinct Pokemon. In addition to that, Legends Arceus also introduced to us boss battles in the form of noble Pokemon. These 7 distinct noble Pokemon count as like boss battles for a particular area in the game, and they can also be shiny as well, which raises our total Pokemon count even further to 4,692. In the Paldea region, every single Pokemon has the power to terrestrialize into one of 19 different Terra types. Given that every Pokemon in the game could terrestrialize into one of the 19 types, we have to take the total amount of Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, which is 1,025, and multiply it by 19, which equals 19,475 Pokemon. Then we have to add the fact that each Pokemon has a unique shiny form, so our new total comes out to 38,950. Now let's head back some generations to Alola in the form of Pokemon Sun and Moon. In the Alola region, there are 18 Pokemon that are regional variants to the originals we know and love. In addition to that, each one has their shinies too, which brings us to a total of 38,986 Pokemon. Just like Alolan forms, there are such things as Galar forms, and there are 19 total Galarian forms, plus their shinies, which equals to a total amount of 39,024 Pokemon. Now there's only one Paldean form of Pokemon we haven't counted yet, and that is Paldean Rooper, because we added the 3 forms of Paldean Tauros earlier. Anyways, let's add Paldean Rooper and his shiny counterpart, which makes it a total of 39,026 Pokemon. Every single Pokemon, except a couple, has gender variations. Some gender variations are really noticeable, while some you can't see the difference at all. Overall, there are only 47 Pokemon that only have one gender. So this fact, along with the shiny variation, brings us a total of 42,005 distinct Pokemon, to go from 1,025 to 42,005 total Pokemon. That is awesome. But that's not even to mention that each and every Pokemon that have a different level is considered a different variation. Or how about Pokemon with different natures? They're considered different. And that's not even to mention the amount of Spinda forms. And all of these Spinda forms have shinies too, so that just doubles the amount. Wow, it just goes to show you, Ash couldn't even catch 151 monsters. Now imagine him trying to catch 42,005 of them. As we've seen, the sheer variety of Pokemon is staggering. From the majestic Mega Evolution to the mighty Gigantamax forms, to even the quirky forms that Game Freak just adds for fun. With each new generation of Pokemon that passes, the roster grows, introducing new species, forms, and gimmicks that keep the franchise fresh and exciting. But beyond the numbers lies the heart of the Pokemon. The stories of the trainers forging bonds with each and every one of them, overcoming challenges, and striving to become the very best. Whether it's battling in gyms, competing in tournaments, or simply exploring the great outdoors with your new Pokemon companions. Trainers find endless joy and fulfillment with their Pokemon along their journey. Speaking of forming deep bonds with your Pokemon, I highly suggest you check this video out right here as I go in detail about one of the original bonds between man and Pokemon.